Apa Kabar. Let's start healing. Hey everyone, I'm Adrianne Murchison and welcome to the Let's Start Healing podcast. You know what? We have more in common than we think. And what we have in common can change the world. That's why I greeted you with Apa Kabar. That means, how are you in Indonesian? This is episode 29 of the Let's Start Healing podcast. All of our episodes are available on Spotify, iHeartRadio, and our podcast YouTube channel. So subscribe to our podcast. Also, like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram. And remember that you can always email me at letstarthealingpodcast@gmail.com. This episode is brought to you in part by BE Decors, Decorating and Styling Company, where interior decorator Lanada Chanel Duncan will creatively personalize and style spaces in your home or office to complement your quality of life. BE Decor's specialty is creating living spaces, including she caves. Chanel Duncan's idea for she caves comes from her passion for helping women practice self-care. She caves are offered under the brand She Works, She Slays, She Caves. Visit BE Decors at bedecors.com. Lanada Chanel Duncan actually returns today as our guest for this episode titled A Million Little Stressful Things. I know sometimes, doesn't it feel like that? Like there is just a million little stressful things we wish we could just push away and they would just evaporate, disintegrate, vamoose. So Lanada's journey over the last couple of years is really remarkable and it's very relatable. She's going to share what she's been through and what she calls a paradigm shift. She went through something very significant and she decided as a result of stress that she was going to make another choice, a different choice. So she's going to talk to us about that. And I know that many of us walking around have stress that we manage from day to day. If we're not managing it personally, we certainly know someone who is going through some things or who has been through some things as a result of stress. And we all know what stress can do to us in terms of turning into a disease, a heart condition, a heart attack. I'm amazed by the subtle things that can manifest as a result of stress. And I'm also amazed by the different ways in which we can heal. I remember maybe about, 5 years ago, I was stressed about something. It was one Saturday and I was feeling general stress in my life. And a friend had invited me to a sound meditation where the person was going to be doing sound healing with a bowl. And it was just my friend and I and the person who was doing the sound healing. And so I was going, and even though I was feeling a little funky, and I thought, what the heck? And it was so healing. The reason that I'm mentioning it is that it was really remarkable to me how I felt this love inside as a result of the healing. I felt this energy inside. And when I left, my problems, whatever they were at that time, seemed separate from me. Yes, they still existed, but I was not internalizing them. I felt a high energy within me for at least 24 hours from an hour of sound healing. It was so interesting because I felt that my problems were over there across the room. My problems were separate from me because over here, I feel good inside. So I still have these problems to deal with, but I am not my problems. We can heal. Some of our guests in the coming weeks are going to be talking about how we are not our thoughts. And that's such a great example of how we are not our thoughts. That was something that I literally experienced. And Lanada is going to speak to that a little bit. So let's meet her. Let's get started and let's start healing. Welcome, Miss Lanada.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad to be here again.
Yes, yet again. And I appreciate this episode on a million little stressful things and you taking part. And we're here in your she cave, which we will give folks a peek at. One of the reasons that I wanted to do this podcast with you is because I have seen over the last couple of years just how beautifully you have addressed stress. And I'm not saying that you've conquered stress. I know we all have a million little stressful things in our life. But I remember 2 Christmases ago, I was concerned and I bought you this journal.
Yes,
remember, among other things, I bought you this journal
because I and still use it.
And I wanted you to just start writing things down. And I remember also that our friend Gia, who's featured in another episode, you went to her to learn how to meditate in the way that feels right for you. Yeah. So can you talk a little bit about your journey from then till now?
Let's see how far back to go. Well, I'll start with just like really kind of getting into what stress is. And I know we all know that there are internal stressors and external stressors.
Well, I don't.
Okay.
And then also what was causing you stress, if you recall at that point. But what are internal stressors and external stressors?
Well, of course, I'm not a clinical person by no stretch of the imagination, but internal stressors basically are things that could be going on inside of us medically. So like for me, I was experiencing high blood pressure. I was fatigued a lot, low iron at the time. When some things came out later on, I found out I had low iron. My body was sore. Still kind of go through that. Some muscle tension. I was having weight gain. So those are things that are going on inside of our bodies. And then external stressors are things going on in our circumstances that could certainly affect us. So it could be things in our environment that can, I guess, play its way out in our lives in different ways. And so at the time, my external stressors were related to my job. Many people don't know, I guess, who follow me with Beauty Decors, that I still work full time. So at the time, 2 years ago, I was in a different role. I was working in management, and I've been working in management for years, over 15 years in management, medical management most of the time. And so my job was very stressful. I manage a team of about 20, 25 people, all females. Need I say more?
No, and I'll leave that alone.
Leave that alone
because I could add. Well, were they this?
Well,
were they
we
that?
got some emotions that can go all over the place, and it does not stop even when we get to work. So that, and there was some personal things, some things going on with my children that I was always concerned about dealing with, and then some finances and just some. Again, the weight gain, which is an external and internal situation. So those were the things that were externally weighing heavily on me, so much to where I, like I said, just fatigued but couldn't sleep, restless nights. I began to I can feel when my blood pressure was rising. I can feel when there was a lot of tension.
Really?
And I literally started having anxiety attacks, panic attacks, which I'd never had before.
And so how did they come about? What would happen?
What would basically happen is that I would start to shake. There was one particular incident. I had begun to realize that I'd gone to the doctors. My weight gain was an issue. I had been feeling like my blood pressure was rising. And so she was already saying, I'm going to put you on blood pressure medication. And I did not want to be on BP meds at the time. So my doctor was telling me that, well, a couple things need to happen. If you don't want to go on BP meds, you need to lose some weight, because our weight has a lot to do with our blood pressure being high. If you lose some weight, then I won't put you on it. We'll see if we can avoid that. But if you don't, then you need to possibly go on it to at least try and get this blood pressure consistently down. It was going up and down, rising, falling, that kind of thing. And so I had to make some changes with regards to my diet. I realized I needed to start doing some changes with regards to just my lifestyle changes. So I started thinking about the idea more of getting myself into counseling with my son so that we can go through some family things that we were kind of dealing with at the time. And honestly, I just had to give up probably my position. I wanted to do something different. And I remember having a discussion with my husband. Are you sure you want to do this?
He said that.
My husband said this. Are you sure you want to do something different, right now? And this is not management. And I was totally okay with that. I began to say, you know what? Yep, I'm pretty sure I do. There was things about, some of the flexibility being lost, or just, walking away from a management role.
Right.
But
now you're going to be managed in a different way.
Now I'd be managed in a different way, but I was going to stay with the same company, just do something different. And there were some internal things going on within the company. Unfortunately, the position that I was eyeing at the time was occupied by someone else, but the person was sick and ill. She was actually a friend of mine, or we were close co-workers. Unfortunately, she had gotten cancer and didn't make it. She had lost her battle, and it was told to us that the position was available. I knew that was my opportunity to possibly make that change.
And how did that affect you emotionally? Of course, you lost your friend, but in regards to your health, did it impact you at all?
It did. Yeah, when I knew, and all of this had kind of started happening around the same time, it kind of seemed like really hated to lose this person, because she was so dear to me in a way that we worked together, and she was just a good person. But I got her blessing, and I went and told her how I was interested in this particular role, and she really gave me her blessing and just gave me some tips and things. And I felt inside that this was God speaking to me to say, now is the time. You need to make some changes and make them now. Because again, I didn't want to go on BP meds. But something happened, basically. I had gotten the role. They too wanted to know, was I sure? And I'm sure. This is something I want to do. And I had to tell my staff. And so, and I had a great staff. It was just, in general, just the responsibilities,
right?
The different things that we had to go through in management. It was just, and the work was overwhelming for me at the time. It was just a lot to continue to do. And so at this point in my life, I knew I had to make some changes. And so at the point that I told my staff, I knew that this was one, of course, no turning around. And I had about a day or two left at this position, where about 4:30, it's like a ghost town. Everyone goes home. But there were a few people, one or two people still there, and one doctor still there. And I was still at my desk, and I began to, for some crazy reason, the day had gone fine. It was nothing going on particularly in the day, just a normal day in management. But about 5:30, I started shaking. I started feeling like something's going on. And I started feeling, I don't know how to explain it, but like I was going to start shaking. like
you felt a
rise in my blood pressure and my temperature.
Were you afraid you were having a heart attack?
No, I just knew something's not right. There's this internal feeling that I knew something's not right. My blood pressure's something's going on. And I called for one of the MAs to come in, medical assistants to come in and take my blood pressure. And she did. And it was extremely high at the time. And she said, it's high. I'll come back in a minute. I said, let me just sit here for a moment, try and calm down. Even talking about it, I still get excited sometimes. And so a few minutes went by, and I didn't feel like it was going down. As a matter of fact, I called her back in, and I said, take it again, please. And she took it again, and it was so high. By the time she was taking the pressure cuff off of me, I started shaking really bad, severely.
And she could visibly
see it. And she called for the doctor that was still there in the back. And he ran up and she said, something's going on with Lanada. And by the time he got there, I was just shaking so bad. I had called my husband, and during that time, I was able to grab the phone and call him. And I was like, I can't stop shaking. And he's just like, is someone there? And I'm like, he's getting a doctor. So by the time the doctor got there, I'm shaking. He's trying to get me into one of the medical exam rooms to get on the table, a medical exam table. I somehow got on that table, but someone else was calling 911 because there was about 2 or 3 people there. And I would say a few minutes went by. I guess my husband was kind of trying to stay near on the phone, but trying to figure out what was going on. And the doctor's saying, I'm trying to get on the table. I'm trying to get her calmed down. But by the time the ambulance had gotten there, I was shaking uncontrollably.
Oh, my goodness.
And they had to give me something to try and get me to, I can't remember exactly what it was, that they gave me something, and they had to get an ambulance to get me to the hospital.
No kidding.
Yeah. And thank God I was at work. Thank God the doctor was there. We went to the hospital and my husband met me there. And again, I was just really grateful to the doctor and everything. So they kept me for a while and, they were able to get me calmed down. And, I went to work even the next day, just thanking those individuals that were just a part of that experience and just for being there and being
They
so
let
helpful.
you go home that night.
Yeah, they let me go home that night. I'm sorry. And then, and Todd came and got me and we were fine. But I knew that. And at that point, I was already making that change from a job perspective. So I was just moving certain things around at that point that just seemed to happen at the point where there was a tail end.
And boy, how you trusted your instincts, because sometimes we can stay in a situation.
Oh, yeah. It's way too long
That's
when
really
you have signs around you. But the second thing came when one day I was going to work. I'm in this new position now. This is the very beginning of the new position. And this new position involves not management, but it still has some still responsibility of handling like patient complaints and doing certain things for the doctor's dismissals. But I also get to market my providers and physicians and take them other practices and things like that. So I have doctors in my car and I'm driving around.
Yeah.
And on the way to work one day, and I start feeling that anxiety just picking up, and it just starts coming, just overcomes you. You just kind of feel it. And I'm having like a panic attack in the car. And it's just like, I don't know where these things are coming from. I couldn't put my finger on what's causing it. I didn't know if my BP was causing it or it was causing my BP to rise, or what was one of the, chicken or the egg kind of thing. Right.
And let me ask you one quick question. So in the hospital, did the doctors, were they the ones who told you this is a panic attack, or you already, that they just said that and you already knew what that whole thing was?
I think both. Yeah, they said that for sure to make it. And then if you know kind of some things about medical situations, you don't want to really have that on your medical record, because sometimes it gets to be on a label that sticks with you and transfers with you from place to place. But I had to just deal with that. I know there's that feeling that I guess this, you feel like it gives you this it's this negative connotation of when you're labeled having anxiety or having a panic attack or something like that. But I had to get over that. That's literally what it was.
Right.
I wasn't used to having them, but I knew what it was. I knew it wasn't normal, and I knew that now what could cause it was what really we had to get to the root of. And I think it was a mixture. The BP was causing it. The increased blood pressure was causing it, but there was really internal stress going on all over my body, everywhere in my situations. So I had to begin to eliminate those things. Fast forward to the day where I'm in a car and I'm having that happen. And then there's this day where now I can't see. I'm starting to, my eyesight's acting funky. I'm having blurred vision, and I'm thinking, now I just need to have my prescription renewed or whatever. Right. And one day I'm just literally barely making it to work because I'm seeing double. And at that point, I go back to the doctor, and she's like, your BP is so high. The doctor really didn't want to let me leave. He said you had to stay in the room for a while, and he had to get my blood pressure down. And I couldn't leave. He said, technically, I should be sending you to the hospital. But we eventually got it down for enough for me to go home. And they sent me immediately to an eye specialist. And by the time I gotten to the specialist the very next day, he did some tests and he told me I had what was called an ocular inclusion, something, which is translate into a stroke in the eye. So basically, I had a stroke in the back of my eyes.
Amazing.
And it needed to be hopefully repaired, if repairable at that point. So he sent me to an actual back of the eye specialist. So anyway, that was, as you said, almost 2 years ago, or about a year and a half ago. And as of today, long story short, I'm now on blood pressure meds. So I do take blood pressure medication. I'm still trying to keep my weight down because you can get off of BP meds. And I think that was my fear, not being able to get off of it ever, that kind of thing. We've recently lowered it and added a water pill or another pill just because I was retaining some water. So that was probably the most drastic thing for me, is my feet would swell a little bit and things like that. But it works fine for me. It keeps me my levels great. I have a BP machine here and one at work, and I take it if I feel the need to.
Right.
I haven't taken it in a while just because I've made some changes to kind of incorporate to go along with that. And I feel like I'm going to come off one day when I really get serious about maintaining my weight and keeping that down. The part that I have not yet been able to let go are these eye injections that I do still get in my eyes, because basically what the stroke in the eye does is cause blood clots in your eye and a swelling in your eye. Well, now I go every 8 weeks or 9 weeks, as opposed to I was going monthly or every 5 weeks.
For these injections into one eye.
One eye, and the other one was had quickly healed.
So you had a stroke in both eyes?
Both. Mm-hmm.
Oh.
But one quickly healed and got a lot better. And then the other one is the one that they had seen more swelling and more clots. And so basically a lot of clots are gone, but the swelling's still there. And the eye injection is the medication that they inject in the side of my eye. Doesn't hurt necessarily, because people always want to know, does it hurt? The clamping up when they keep an eye open, and what happens is the feeling afterwards is probably the most uncomfortable thing, because it feels like you've got a log in your eye afterwards. And so generally the days that I get them, I can't drive home. My husband, takes me and drives me home, and I just want to go to sleep. I just want to close my eyes and just kind of, and the next day I'm fine. So usually that's what happens. You don't know how long you'll have to have them. You just kind of get them, and every time you go, you see how you've improved. So I'm getting better.
Okay.
Getting much better. But now I'm in full-time glasses all the time, just because.
Well, they look so fashionable. We just think that's just what you want to wear.
I mean, if I got to wear them every day, I might as well, be a little fashionable.
Those incidents were the catalyst to you saying something's got to change.
Absolutely.
And continue to change, because it wasn't just changing the job. Right. As I said, you started meditating.
Yes. Yeah.
You journal?
I did. So in addition to changing my job, as we said, and just practicing things that really help me better handle stress, letting go of some personal things that I really need to let go, learning how to deal and handle some things better, to where I'm protecting myself and my reactions.
Can you give us anything you're comfortable sharing?
No, I just think, because you can't control people's behavior or reactions, but you can control yours. So just being more mindful. I haven't always done a great job with it, but I think for the most part, I try to be a little more mindful of how I'm responding to situations, even if it's not fair or not pretty or whatever it is. But again, that's just a daily approach to things. I think what's most important is now being protective of my self-care time. And that's the biggest change that I've made. Is I did start going to our friend anesthesia. She showed me basically and I knew this, but just she helped me put it into a practice of things like simple breathing, correct breathing for that matter. That alone, when she showed me that changed my daily drive to work.
How so?
I would do it in the car. I would start doing my breathing practices that she showed me. Every morning in the car, I would have my meditation music on. I like to listen to certain things in the morning, the news or whatever. I try not to do that initially. Sometimes I do it now, but then I couldn't do it. I couldn't have news and things like that in my head. So many things are going on in the news anyway. I did,
Right.
all of that was what was really probably on my mind throughout the day. So I'd have my meditation music on. I'd be doing my breathing, and
Meaning
that was
you're
my
taking deep breaths
breaths
to a certain rhythm,
right.
or
I control my tractions. Just I make sure I was breathing correctly. Rehearse affirmations and to myself in my head. That was my morning practice every morning. And even when I would get to work, I literally redecorated my office so that it's more calming. I took away harsh lights. First of all, my eyes can't take them that much anymore anyway. And so now when people come by my office, they're just like, wow, what are you doing in here?
Yes.
I'm just like, it's so common. And I need that.
Yes.
I mean, and some people can't work in environments like that. No, I probably do my best in a situation like that. So I just incorporated that. And I'm protective now of my time. I mean, hubby knows that I love to hang up and be around him and hang up under him and things like that. But there are nights when I'm going up to the cave.
And I have really noticed and respected the boundaries that you've set over the last couple of years, because different things might come up, for example, on a Sunday night that we might both be invited to. And you will say, I can't do it. I can't do it because, you have to get up early. You need to be right for Monday morning. Or it could even be a weeknight where you just feel tonight. Well, we'll get to your BE Decors, She Cave, and, your work around that. But you set boundaries around that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've had to. And I know that the people that yourself and my friends and family understand why. They know the details, of course, of why I've had to be protective of that time and that's kind of space for me, because of what I've gone through and just because it's just important. So it's a paradigm shift, I call it, that I've had to do or have and make so that I can really maintain the health that I have. When I look at what I did get to do, or even if it's spend that time in the day doing something or go get my flowers even to flower my home, just things like that.
And you were doing that. Let folks know about that, because you were buying yourself flowers before this happened.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what do you do?
I mean, it's just those things
but wait, let the listeners know, you buy flowers every Saturday, or
I don't do it every Saturday anymore. I'm glad Todd's not here, but I don't do it every Saturday. I don't even do it every other Saturday. I think you did do it every Saturday. I used to do it, probably every other. It depends. Flowers last a couple weeks, so probably more like every other. And I used to, but I haven't done that in a while, but I do think it's important to do. It's just mainly because I've had some artificial flowers and some plants around here now and stuff. But at the time, I love flowers. And I just think that a woman should buy herself flowers. If flowers make you feel good, having them around the house in different rooms, walking into a room that has flowers and, light up the room with bright colors and flowers, or the smell of flowers, things like that can make just a difference alone in how you feel.
That's how I feel about candles.
Yeah, candles too. Exactly.
Yeah.
Candles does that for me as well. So, you come in the door, I know for you, sometimes you come in and your first thing you're lighting, I've seen you, are candles in your home. So that's just, because that's what clicks for you. That's what makes you feel a certain kind of way. And if that way is positive, good about yourself, why not do it? And this is not to mean someone can't, a husband can buy me flowers or whatever, but he knows I'll buy my own flowers. I'll buy flowers anyway, just because I want them in the house. I want to look at them. I want to look at the beauty of a flower and take that in.
So we're sitting in your she cave, and how did this come about? And this was a bedroom. This was your son's bedroom?
It was my son's bedroom. So, of course, it's a room with 4 walls, okay? On maybe half of one of those walls is a closet that has glass sliding doors, just to give you guys a visual. those doors were here already, but the room itself kind of had it was kind of painted initially the color of the entire house. Who the seller that sold us this home had all the walls painted like a soft yellow, which is fine. Over the years, we've kept some walls like that, not because we want to, probably because we just haven't gotten to painting them. My younger son, who now lives with his father, he moved out probably about a year and a half, 2 years ago.
And you have two sons.
I have two sons. I have an older son, Joshua, and a younger son, Jacob. And Jacob, the younger son, was living with us at the time. The older son was already on his own. And when he moved out, I thought I would make this room at the time like a guest room or so. We're in a 4-bedroom house, and it's just my husband and I. And so this was the last child, I guess, to have out of the home. And so we just thought, we don't want to move. We love our home, but now we really do have the space. Can't make every room a guest room. He wants a man cave eventually, and he wants that man cave to be in the garage. So what am I going to do with this room? I felt I want a she cave, and I need a space for me to be able to come and just kind of relax and decompress. And so I toyed with the idea of the room beside this one, doing it there. But I had this visual in my head, and every time I kept decorating this room, it felt better over here. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to make this the room that I do the she cave. So basically what I did was the blue accent wall, I wallpapered into a nice gray with some sparkly silvers in it in the wallpaper. And it's peel and stick, which made it really easy for me to do myself. I couldn't afford to pay anyone at the time to come in and do the wallpaper. I just wanted to make this the most economical project that I can make it at the time. And I had already been collecting some items myself to kind of I knew I wanted to use to style the space. So there were some things I was just kind of holding on to, gathering up over time. But I did that. I made that accent wall the gray, and then I painted the other walls an agreeable gray, Sherwin-Williams color, which is it's agreeable gray, but I will tell you, depending on the way that light hits it, it looks like a soft tan. In the time of day, then it might look like a soft gray, but it's a beautiful color. It's used a lot in a lot of different homes when a lot of different homeowners use it when they repaint their homes. And it's a good classy color. I did that. And I did some other things around the space, and it has transformed into a beautiful space that I really feel at peace in. I've got so much still that I want to do in the room. A couple of things I'm still going to do on one of the other walls that I'm kind of leaving alone. I don't really show it in pictures right now because that's for some other things that I'm going to do at a later time. But it's my space. I look forward to this space. I look forward to coming home to it at the end of a long day. And yeah, this is usually where you can find me at the end of a day or the beginning of the day. I come in here in the morning sometime and just do my meditations. Right. My Sunday mornings are usually spent right here. I'm having my tea. I'm writing in my journals. I am praying. I might be doing a couple yoga stances. I just love it. It's a great space.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
It's beautiful.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean, I feel it's my duty when you have people over and I'm here to show them your she cave.
She does. Yes, you do. She's just like come on. Have you seen the she cave? She's like the tour guide for the she cave. It's so funny. But yeah, and I feel like it's a space that I want to share with my girlfriends. You know, I want to share this with my friends. I share this space with my grandbaby. She brings her little chair in here and she just fits right in. Her colors goes with the colors in here. So it's she like blends in with the space. Hubby's like, I can't believe you're going to let a kid in your she cave. I'm like, absolutely. This is for certain special gals. And she's a special gal. So absolutely.
Since I've known you about 10 years.
Don't get me started on that conversation. That's for another conversation, y'all.
Whatever. So
since been not that long,
yes,
but she swears it has. We'll go there another time.
No, it's been 10 years.
Okay.
So anywho, you've had a few different entrepreneurial ideas, and you were in real estate, and I can't remember what the other ones were. I can't remember.
Man, it wasn't that many. Oh my God.
It was more than one other. I'll say that. Maybe 3.
So true.
So your decor business is so naturally you.
Well, thank
It
you. I
is
hope
just,
so.
it embodies everything. That's
Wow.
why I wanted to do this particular episode, because it brings you peace. You're able to serve others. You know, what was it about this? And it's a business where you can earn money. So what was it about decor that drew you in and resonated and stuck? Your taste is just wonderful. Whatever you have, I want.
You're so crazy.
I'm serious. I like what you like.
Because we have
so
the
I
same
might be
style,
biased,
but there are
but
people that
there's
I'm
no-
sure is like, that is so overkill or way
No.
too much. And that's okay. That's to me the beauty of decorating.
Yes.
I mean, really, I know that you and I tend to have the same style of things, you know, and that's probably why it works for you and it resonates with you as well, which is good. We kind of have, in a way, that rustic sophistication, boho chic kind of style to things.
Yeah.
But that's what we like. But there are people that really are into more modern, more traditional styles, or just more casual styles and things like that. And that's totally fine too. I like being able to do all of that, depending on what the client wants. I think what speaks or what resonates to me with regards to decorating is, first of all, I've always kind of liked moving things around, decorating, seeing how it looks or making it look pretty this way or that way. As a matter of fact, what you're looking at now is different, of course, than the last time you were here in the She Cave, because I've switched some things around.
You are always changing
I'm
things
always
around.
changing things. And then my husband was like, what are you doing? He came in here last night.
He's like, I enjoyed that. Why'd you change it?
He doesn't enjoy it. He's just like, wait, I can't do this room. It's just too girly. And it is too girly because it's a she cave. It's not a man cave. And that's fine. That's why I want him to turn around and go back out. But he's just like, why are you doing this? You don't leave anything the same. And it's like, why? Because I'm like, that's what decorators do. We move things around. But I just feel like,
what stuck? What stuck for you? Why did this work? And why is this?
This is the She Cave, or just decorating.
Decorating. And did God just lead you to this? Like everything else was just a step along the way to land you.
What I like doing, yes. And something about homes. As a matter of fact, I was a real estate agent before. That's all I was. It was just that. But it was just something about the whole idea of dwelling spaces. Now, I will say, of course, you know, I love the beach. I love this whole peaceful. I get a lot of peace from the beach. That was just something that we had decided we were going to do more of. We know we're at peace, both of us, when we go to these beaches. And so it totally just, we're able to veg out, right? I like that experience. I feel like my passion is to create that type of feeling for other people. I want other people to feel, beautiful. I don't like when other people are stressed. I don't like that feeling. I don't want to see other people stressed and tense and with anxiety or depressed. That does something to me. And so I feel like my passion is to help you get to a point where you can be at peace too. I'm doing my best to get there, and I want you to be there too. And so for me, that's what decorating allows me to be able to do. Help you get to that feeling of being at peace in your dwelling space. We have so much that we have to deal with out here in life. You know what I mean? I mean, every day there's just something else, especially now. There's always something to challenge us. There's always something to pull on us, to pull on our energy, to tug on us, to, you know, to make us feel overwhelmed. This world is chaotic.
Right.
When we come home, that has got to be our safe haven. That's got to be the place where we at least feel like we can just completely be ourselves, completely decompress, completely let it go, let our hell downs, and just really let everything else go. And so I really enjoy being able to try and create that type of environment, that setting for people to be able to do that. I want for people to be excited, to look forward to coming home at the end of a long day. I want them to just, you know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
So
absolutely.
That's just, I think, what has driven me to really be able to put my passion of decorating into creating. And so no matter what your style is, I feel like I'm always going to, when I finish, I'm looking around that space to see, can this person be at peace in this space? Even if they like certain styles, vibrant colors, bold colors, things like that, because that's what for some people still puts them at ease.
Right.
I still want to, there's certain signature things, of course, that I probably would do, but these are things that the client has, I want to make sure it's things that you feel connect with you.
Right.
Collected pieces that you feel like help you feel at home, things that you cherish, things that really put you at ease. That make you feel loved and at peace and tranquil. So those are just types of environments that I prefer to style.
And a part of your brand is creating peaceful living spaces.
Yeah.
When did you know that you wanted to create a she cave?
I think probably when I had the space and to do it. I think probably maybe when we moved into this house. And definitely hubby was always talking about a man cave. And I'm thinking inside as he was saying that, talking about this area.
Right, because he does have a space that he wants to create a man cave.
He talks about it constantly. And I think every time he would bring up that space, I'd be like, well, wait till I get my she cave. And I don't know why, but that stuck with me. I know I've heard the she shed thing and I've heard the women cave, but she cave is what stuck in my head. So I'm just like, I don't hear a lot. I hear she cave. And I just kept saying she cave. So I think when I knew I had the space, now I said that to say, I know that people probably don't feel like they can have a she cave because they don't have a room for it. Maybe they don't have a room for a she cave if that's the case. Well, then get a she corner, you know, and start right there. Start where you are, but have that your go-to corner. That's your go-to corner that you have put your special chair or your special pillow or your special ottoman, your special throw, your tray with your book or your journal, your cup, your favorite mug where you have your cup of tea and you do your prayer or you do your yoga, whatever it is, you know, your rug that you've got and it feels warm and fuzzy under your feet, whatever that is, make it your corner then. What's the most unutilized space in your house that you feel like you can go and snag it and you say, this is my corner. No one else gets it. Right. You know, semi-private or private or whatever, or make it semi-private. If you need to hang a curtain around it, put a little tie on there, you know, make it swag back, whatever, then start right there and make that your space. So
you can have a she space.
You can have a she space. Then you can go and move on up to a closet. Okay, is your closet being used? Maybe you have an extra closet in your house that you can utilize. Clean out that closet and decide today I'm going to make this my she cave, you know?
Right, because you're thinking about making one of your closets a little prayer space.
Absolutely.
Right.
So the closet in the she cave right now, I'm working on it. I've been wallpapering it. I'm not sure of my next step that I want to do yet because I've got a couple things that I want to do. So I don't know which one I'm going to next, but I do know that I'm going to make it kind of like a prayer closet, a space where I can go and just kind of spend an additional quiet. That's where I'm having my prayer time. So that's my time where I speak to God. I may do my journaling because, you know, as my she cave here, like I could, my desk is also here for my work that I do my work from. I do lots of things.
I can't wait for our listeners
but I want
to see
that to be my prayer corner. Yeah.
I can't wait for our listeners to see your desk. When we talk about your closet, it's not a walk-in closet.
No.
And so
it's probably what I would say 6 by 3 by 6 or so. You know, 3 feet by 6 feet.
Yeah.
Something like that. It's just a basic closet where you could just hang some clothes in, but you can certainly make that, you know, again, paint that closet, take out that pole where you would hang stuff and put some shelves in there, put a little bench in there if you want to, and just, again, hook that up and make that a nice little prayer space for you or journal space or a space where you just go read your favorite books, put some shelves in there, put your books up there and you know, make it a little library for yourself.
Right.
So, you know, so you can use what you have and just create your own personal. I think a personal space is important because that's a space where, again, you can go and do the things you love to do. There's no other space in this world that we can go to that's ours, that we can be selfish in.
Right.
Let me put it that way.
Right.
your cave, your space, your personal space, you can be as selfish as you want in that space. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Not that we want to be selfish, but you don't have to tend to the responsibilities of taking care of others right there if you don't want to. That space is all about self-care for you. And if that means you're selfish, I'm sorry, be selfish. You know what I mean? Be protective of it.
What have you learned for you about self-care?
It's the most important thing. I can't do anything else for anyone else until I've taken care of myself. It's just true. Who knows? I may not be here, if I didn't learn to do those things and incorporate those things into my life. Maybe I wouldn't be here sitting here talking to you right now if I didn't do those things. So I just think self-care is the most important thing you can do.
I love this episode because the things that you describe, high blood pressure, panic attacks, the work dynamic, stroke of an eye, 2 eyes. That's not something
something like that can happen.
Right. I didn't either. Yeah. Weight gain, diet. These are things that everyday people, men and women, go through. Women feel, I think, self-conscious in a different way.
Absolutely.
Because we're talking about, we want to have the appearance of having things together.
Absolutely.
We care about how we look and how we appear in the world, as well as we want to have peace. So I just really appreciate you sharing this.
Thank you.
I think it's fewer people who decide I'm choosing self-care. And so that's what I really admire.
It's funny that you say that, but then we got to explore why. Because again, self-care seems selfish sometimes to be focused on self. It takes time, away from other things that we feel we should be doing. We do. We feel like we have to be everything sometimes to everybody. And yes, we feel like if we're lacking in any one of those areas, maybe we're not a whole person. So it's difficult to say stop, to see the value within yourself. Because to me, self-care is about self-love.
Absolutely.
If you love yourself, then you need to realize that you better take care of yourself first.
Absolutely.
And because if you don't do that, again, you probably won't be here long to take care of all those things you feel like you should be doing anyway. Not long.
You're not long for this earth.
And not to the point of efficiency that we probably should be doing them then, because we haven't taken care of ourselves. If we're fatigued and we're exhausted, or, our health and our condition or weight and all of these things are an issue, we're definitely not going to be really top performance in those areas.
Right.
Our businesses, all these things could too go lacking because we're not taking care of ourselves. And we have to understand that.
And I want to add that we can't be too hard on ourselves.
Absolutely.
I'm good with self-care in one area or in some areas, and then in other areas I might not be.
Same here.
And so on any given day or every day, I might say, okay, tomorrow, this is what I'm not going to do.
Okay.
This is what I'm going to do instead.
Right.
And I might not succeed in that. But then I just try it again the next day, and I might not succeed the next day.
That's okay.
So a part of things is to try to not be hard on myself.
Yeah.
Especially, I think I come up with, okay, this is my plan for tomorrow. I'll have a whole list of what I plan to do. Things might not go that way.
Okay.
And so to just accept that was a list.
For those things the areas that you are good at, then just be consistent with those. Because even because I do that same thing sometime. And so let's just say I'm not reaching that goal of that thing that I wanted to do today or tomorrow or even the next day.
Right.
Then you know what? I'm going to set the bar for next week. Let me just be consistent with my breathing. Let me be consistent with taking the 10, 15 minutes out each morning just to practice my breathing, to work on that. The next week, let me just be consistent with doing my meditation. So the next week, be consistent with journaling. And then I think the more you're putting those things into, first of all, you feel good about it, about those things you would accomplish. Because sometimes we just need to feel good about those things we're doing.
Right.
To go back and say, I'm going to do another thing now.
Right.
So just remembering that is extremely important. Another thing I incorporated and talk about this, but is my walking.
Oh, yes.
Serious about my walking.
Absolutely.
And what I love about this, being serious about my walking.
And you do it after work.
I do it after work, or I do it Sunday mornings. My husband and I, he has come along with me and he enjoys them too. And that's something we share now is our walks. Sunday morning, we are walking, and we usually probably go from walking to maybe now going and have breakfast. That's our Sunday routine. And it's so great because you see the same people out there. Y'all become, hey, that kind of thing. That's a serious thing for me. I get my exercise in. Then I slap on my earplugs because I'm listening to a podcast. That's usually when I'm in a podcast is on my walks, because I can hear a whole podcast on the time that I'm walking. I brought that up for this reason. I told you about this person, Brooke Castillo.
Right.
Love her. Okay. Life coach. But her episode that dealt with gifting our future self is one of my favorite right now. You can look her up. Tell her I sent you. A couple of things she said in there are really important that stand out. Talking to our future self, sending a letter to our future self. She tasked us to do. Send a letter from your present self to your past self, and then send a letter from your future self to your present self. And the reason why those things are important is because we know that there are things in our past, okay, that we did do, wanted to do. We looked to our future. We couldn't wait to have a scene. We saw this in our future, certain things in our future we wanted to accomplish and achieve. And so sending a letter from our present self to our future self to have the conversation, and I'm hoping I'm getting all this right, is basically thanking our past self for putting certain things into practice for what we've achieved right now.
Exactly.
And from the future self to our present self is because we're talking and thinking that for putting things into practice right now that we're going to achieve in the future. And all of this is important is because we have to see the value in all of those stages in our life to be able to accomplish those things that we want to do. And if we put that stuff into practice right now, our future self will thank us.
Right.
And that letter from our future self is all about thanking us for starting things now today and putting things in practice today that we want to achieve in our future.
Yeah.
So we're going to reap those benefits in the future, and our future self will thank us. So our future, and to me, that changed my life or my outlook on things, because I want to be here in the future. I want to achieve certain things in the future. And I know that it's got to start with some of the things I need to change today to do that.
Absolutely.
And my future self will thank me for that.
Absolutely.
And that's important to me. So it's just things like that I feel like, as it relates to self-care, we have to see the value in all of that. And sometimes we don't see the value, and that's why we can't begin to put them in practice.
Yeah.
And we would resolve to doing other things instead of taking the time to take care of ourselves. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. It relates to, I was listening to a podcast today for the first time. I had never heard of it before, and I only turned it on because Michael Bernard Beckwith, who's a spiritual teacher, was being interviewed. And the podcast is called The Model Health.
Okay.
And I definitely recommend it. I'm looking forward to listening to other episodes. And the host is into health and wellness and fitness. And he's had a variety of different types of people on the podcast. And he has a really fascinating story. Okay. So he was talking to Michael Bernard Beckwith, and relating to what you were just saying, Michael Beckwith was talking about how we practice things. He used basketball as an analogy.
Okay.
I thought about acting. He talked about learning the fundamentals.
Okay.
And then after you learn the fundamentals, after you practice, then something else takes over that is greater than you. It's greater than your human self. So I've heard a lot of actors talk about how they've learned their lines, they've researched the role, they've rehearsed on film or on stage, and then they just surrender it. And then something else takes place.
Okay.
And so that's basically what he was talking about. There's a practice to whatever it is we want to accomplish, and to just try to be committed in that. And then something else will rise up out of that. And he also said that if we're stuck and we don't know how to get somewhere, we don't know how to get to where we want to go, then ask questions. Just put questions out there to the universe.
Okay.
If I feel like I don't make enough money and I don't know how to get out of this space that I'm in, then say, what does prosperity look like? Just ask the question, what does prosperity look like? I like to say, which is a saying from A Course in Miracles, show me where to go, show me what to do, show me what to say and to whom.
Wow.
So that's a surrender.
Yes.
And so when we do that, when we just put things out there, so even if we're stuck and we don't know, well, sure, it sounds good to put something into practice, but I don't even know what that looks like.
Right.
Then just ask the questions and then we'll find the synchronicity will come to us. And it relates so much to what you were just describing.
Yeah. And to one of her others where she talks about, I think the topic on another podcast of Brooke Steele's relating this to what you were just saying, is super thinking. What would happen if I did this? And you create, what does it look like if I were successful? What does that look like for you?
Right.
And it's almost you creating that idea. What does it look like if I was doing very well in my self-care routine, if I did not have stressors, or if I had eliminated the 1,000 started eliminating
a million little stressful things.
What if I made it 500,000 and took away the, just things like that, and begin to eliminate one after one. What does that look like for? And so when you visualize that, you then know what you're going after to achieve, and you start moving in that direction, hopefully. And that's the idea of putting that thought first into practice and turning it into action. And so I think sometimes that's where it starts for people, and that's where maybe they get stuck, is not knowing that, well, what does it look like for you to not be stressed with your weight? To not have to, what does it look like to be free from blood pressure medication? What does it look like to not have these anxiety attacks? Okay. What does it look like to start meditating on a day-to-day basis for you? So things like that, put it in your head, have these thoughts, so your affirmations, things like that. We can't stay in a state of inertia. We have to be doing some type of action with that, but begin to put the thought in your head first. That's action. Life happens every day.
Right. And it can be fun. Yeah. I think it can be fun and enriching to figure out and learn what self-care means to each individual person.
Absolutely.
With the holidays coming up, I know that you have some items that will be available that relate to self-care. And
so I started the idea of the concept of creating she caves under Be Decors this year, since my heart and my passion is initially really for women, and just helping women be free from depression, free from stress. And so I created the She Works, She Slays, She Caves product line under Be Decors. And basically what She Works, She Slays, She Caves is all about is, as women, we are workers. We rise early. We go out there and get it. We achieve our goals, become successful in our various different areas. We're business leaders. We're business owners. And then, of course, we slay. We dress ourselves up. We look pretty and beautiful. We go and hang with our gals. We go and enjoy life. And then I want women to understand the importance of, again, self-care. And that's where the She Caves come in. It's for the woman who knows how to retreat, knows how to pull back and refresh, renew herself, whether it be in her she cave or her own personal space. And so the She Works, She Slays, She Caves product line has to do with products and things that women can use, and services, of course, but things that women can use during their self-care. And so one of the products are journals that I created this year to help women just understand the importance of spending time with herself, journaling, writing her thoughts down. And there's an affirmations journal and a quiet time journal. And they offer tips and ideas that women can use as they're journaling. And then I'm getting some candles, and I'll be getting some clothing products as well under that. And of course, the She Cave services. So I really want women to go into the end of the year thinking about next year, taking steps to really start doing this. And I want them to be able to reach out to me and get some ideas and some tips, and to certainly schedule a consultation if they're interested in creating something like that, space like that in their home. I'm sorry, that's a mouthful.
No, I think it's beautiful. Yeah. And so how can people get in touch with you?
Well, my website is bedecors.com, which is bedecors.com. They can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at bedecors. They can send me an email. It's info@bedecors.com.
And they can sign up for your newsletter
Absolutely.
as well on your website.
Yep. The newsletter is called The Silver Lining. You can sign up on my website, bedecors.com.
Well, Lanada, thank you for being so revealing.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.
And I also appreciate what you just said about knowing when to retreat and pull back. That's often something that we don't think about. We're just like, go, 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 go.
Absolutely.
So thank you
the
for...
world teaches us that we gotta hustle. We gotta go get it. And that's true. But then you gotta have balance with all of that.
Right.
Or it will balance you.
So true. So thank you for being so personal.
Thank you all. Thank you, listeners.
Thank you for joining us. Remember, we have more in common than we think, and what we have in common can change the world. You can listen to all of our podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and our podcast YouTube channel. Subscribe to our podcast, and also remember to like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram. Also, send me that email at letstarthealingpodcast@gmail.com. Let's start healing.